to do over again. He might accept that offer of more than $80 million from the Lakers. Instead, he's agreed to a $5.9 million one-year deal with the Celtics. Schroder is only 28. He'll be a free agent again next summer, so a productive season in Boston could get him another shot at a bigger contract. Boston's been busy adding Schroder, part of what's been a noteworthy offseason for the Celtics under new president.
Back to the NBA, we need the Lakers capologist to address our nation's national deficit. Tuesday, the Lakers added Melo to the fold. It's a one-year deal, got to be team-friendly, given their flurry of other moves. Nunn, Monk, Horton, Tucker. Anthony averaged 13.5 in 24 minutes last season, became the 10th all-time leading scorer in NBA history as well. Once all of these moves become official, the Lakers will have 13 players on their roster, 8 of whom are age 32 or older. That puts LA on track to have one of the oldest teams in NBA history. Only 4 teams have had an average age of 32 or older. The Lakers, of course, will hope to follow in the footsteps of the '98 Bulls, who won it all. But between LeBron and Melo and Dwight and Russ, that's 4 of the top 60 scorers in NBA history. Bobby Marks joins us now. So a lot of us are wondering, there's a salary cap here, right? I mean, how are they pulling this off? Explain the money.
Yeah, when we entered free agency, the Lakers had about $130 million, which was $18 million over the $112 million salary cap. So their options were really limited. We called it bargain shopping here. And what they were able to do was they had 3 different options. Taylor Horton Tucker, they signed him today to the early bird exception. They're allowed to exceed the salary cap to do so. He was on the roster for 2 years. And then you look at a player like Kendrick Nunn, who was in Miami. That is the taxpayer mid-level exception. So he got most of that. And then here's all your bargains. Kent Bazemore, Trevor Ariza, Dwight, Carmelo, Malik Monk, Wayne Ellington, all took the veteran minimum exception. And I like what they did today with Malik Monk. You're able to get Kendrick Nunn. You got a little bit younger. You got some shooting to put around the big 3 here. And they still have 3 roster spots. But the most important thing, $34 million luxury tax penalty, the biggest ever in Laker franchise history. So there's a cost associated to this roster.
They'll be writing a lot of checks there. Yeah. And by the way, earlier in the day today, it was the big fella, Marc Gasol, saying, in fact, he would be coming back to the Lakers next season. We've talked a lot about first dominoes falling, right? We've seen quite a few dominoes fall so far, Bobby. Who's left?
Yeah, so I call them the cap space free agents. That's what their label was before free agency started. Those aren't the players who were going to sign for the taxpayer mid-level or even the full mid-level. That's the players like Spencer Dinwiddie, Larry Markkinen, Reggie Jackson, Dennis Schroder, who was with the Lakers there. And the problem right now is that the market's frozen. There's only about 3 teams that have cap space. You're looking at a team like Charlotte. New York's got a little bit. San Antonio, Oklahoma City. So a player like Dinwiddie trying to arrange a sign and trade to get to Washington. It's complicated because the Nets want compensation back. Right. We saw in the DeMar DeRozan sign and trade. They got a first-round pick, 2 seconds. Devontae Graham to New Orleans. Charlotte got a first-round pick. So you got to have some, you've got to work with the team here. Schroder is the most interesting one for me. Turned down 4 years, $84 million, and is now looking for a new home.
Gambled on himself.
A contract buyout this morning, paving the way for Walker to sign with his hometown New York Knicks. That, according to Adrian Wojnarowski. Thunder general manager Sam Presti and Walker's agents works to come to an agreement on a buyout of the 2 years and $74 million remaining on Walker's contract. I said hometown. Who could flash back and forget to this memorable moment from Kemba 2011, the Big East quarterfinals, the step back, tied at 74 against Pitt. That won the game. A magical season for the Huskies. They went on to win the national championship. Kemba in front of the home crowd. By the way, that Pitt team was a 1 seed in the tournament.
How was that a decade ago?
Got bounced in the second round. See, I was trying to avoid the, hey, look how old we are.
I'm sorry, but it feels like yesterday.
Well, maybe it was in some people's minds. Walker's New York homecoming is just the latest of a number of returns to the city this offseason. Over the past 5 weeks, Knicks have been busy from the upcoming season. They've been adding players on Tuesday. Evan Fournier, the Celtics, signed a 4-year, $78 million deal to also join the Knicks. In other news today, we had some busy stuff this morning. Restricted free agent forward John Collins, a 5-year, $125 million deal to stay with the Hawks, also according to Woj. The deal includes a player option in the 5th year. Collins averaged 21.6 points and 10.1 rebounds per game.
And then do the math on this one, or not, because it might make you feel bad. But Steph Curry has a 4-year, $215 million extension with the Warriors. He is the only NBA player to get multiple $200 million deals. The Bulls, they pulled off a sign and trade with the Spurs, and it's gotten Chicago DeMar DeRozan on a 3-year, $85 million deal. He can actually sign it Friday when that free agent moratorium is lifted. And the Nets, they're getting some depth for their backcourt, courtesy of a Patty Mills. After 10 years with the Spurs, 12th in the league, he's got a new 2-year deal with Brooklyn. And then there are the Lakers, who are getting even older by adding Carmelo Anthony to the mix. He's going to spend his 19th season in LA. It's a 1-year deal, so he'll join LeBron, AD, and Russell Westbrook. But look at this. The Lakers have now signed 7 free agents. Plus, they traded for Westbrook. So they're experienced and just plain getting older, because 6 players are 32 or older, and that is the most ever added in a single offseason in NBA history. I'm not going to average out this next shot, but Bobby Marks is here. We are in front of the screen. Look, they've been busy, have the Lakers, but they still have some work to do because there are 3 open spots. So who and what should they be targeting?
Yeah, they've got 12 players under contract. As we saw with the recent signing, the veteran minimum exception, bargain shopping, the tax mid-level went to Kendrick Nunn right there. It's a top-heavy roster here. The one name that we can keep an eye on, right, is a player like Dennis Schroder. They still have his bird rights here. What happens with Schroder there? That's kind of the name to keep an eye on, because maybe you can flip him down the road here. But 3 roster spots. You're looking at minimum players unless you can maybe do something with Schroder.
Okay, the Lakers are obviously making a big splash, but they're not the only team making moves. We just mentioned some of the things that Chicago has done. The Bulls, a free agent frenzy, if you will, because they got Lonzo Ball, DeMar DeRozan, and Alex Caruso. They have all been added to that roster. So now you have 3 20-point scorers from a season ago in Vucevic and DeMar DeRozan and Lonzo Ball. But much like the Lakers, Bobby, they also have holes to fill. So again, same question for the Bulls. What should they be looking at, or who?
So they've got 9 players under contract here with the DeMar DeRozan signing. Alex Caruso also came out. They added Tony Bradley today. They still have restricted free agent Lauri Markkanen. They've got his bird rights. They can sign him to the qualifying offer, which is at $9 million. But that's another team that's got a lot of holes to fill. They've got the veteran minimum exception. I'm not ready to put them up there with Philadelphia, Brooklyn, Milwaukee, even Miami. This is still kind of a tier B team, but they've got 5 roster spots, and there's still work to do. But it's a great start when you can add Lonzo and certainly DeMar DeRozan, Alex Caruso. This is kind of what's going to be a little bit of a wild card this offseason. Zach LaVine. Yeah, he's extension eligible. He's looking for his contract to be renegotiated. They don't have cap space to do it. The potential is that he's...
Janowski, a source said the former All-Star will be rehabbing from May quad surgery to start the season. He played in only 4 games for Miami after a March trade. The Hawks are keeping restricted free agent John Collins, 5-year, $125 million deal. Collins played a key role in Atlanta going to the Eastern Conference Finals, averaging 17 and 7 and shooting almost 40% from 3. And Kemba Walker is heading home. The 4-time All-Star agreed to a buyout with the Thunder, and Woj is reporting he's planning to sign with the Knicks. He grew up in New York. The Celtics traded Walker in June, 2 years after signing him to a 4-year max contract. And then he was later, of course, shipped from the Thunder, and now he gets a new future in a place he's quite familiar, and he loves the bright lights of the Garden. In his career, Walker has averaged over 21 points per game at MSG, the 7th most since his rookie season in 2011-2012. And who could forget that game-winning step-back J for UConn against Pitt in the Big East tournament at the Garden. Yeah, the first person I thought of after the Kemba news was Stephen A. Smith, and he was on vacation. And guess what? Stephen A. Smith's joining us off of vacation. The man never stopped working. So what was your initial reaction when you heard the news that Kemba is coming back to New York to play for your Knicks?
Well, first things first, I'm still on vacation, at least until Friday. That's number one. But this is worth it. This is worth it, Kevin Nagandi, because the bottom line is this. Kemba Walker can ball. Make no mistake about it. The reservation about Kemba Walker, are his knees okay? Are his legs okay? We know that when healthy, this brother is good for at least 20 to 21 a night. He can hit the three. He definitely can hit perimeter shots. He can dance on anybody. He can create his own shot. And if you watch the New York Knicks, particularly during their playoff series against the Atlanta Hawks, that's what they were devoid of. When you looked at the guys like Reggie Bullock and others, they couldn't create their own shot, okay? Obviously, Julius Randle and R.J. Barrett, I mean, they need to be kidnapped and handcuffed and have their left hand handcuffed so they can learn how to use their right. I love them both, but damn it, when everybody is screaming, they're going left, and you continue to do that because you're not ambidextrous, that's problematic. So when you got somebody like a Kemba Walker, that's definitely a plus. You couple that with the fact that you retain Derrick Rose so you don't run him into the ground, and you've got Emmanuel Quickly who can come off the bench and do some things for you. I like it. Is it a significant upgrade that upgrades them to the top three in the Eastern Conference? No, but it leaves them at the very least where they are right now as a playoff quality team who's building the right culture, and they're on the come up. I'm good with that. I'm good with that right now.
All right. Now, by the way, the Knicks fourth in the East this past season. But the vibe and the energy, we all felt it. We all saw it in the spring. It was back inside the Garden, right?
We here. Yeah,
all right.
we here.
So
I remember.
After all the moves so far in free agency, and I know you mentioned they're not in the top three, but where do you put the Knicks right now in the East in this conversation?
Well, I'll put them at the 4th or 5th seed because I'm looking at, obviously, Brooklyn. I'm looking at Milwaukee. I'm looking at the Philadelphia 76ers. You take the Miami Heat into consideration. I think the Knicks could be battling with Miami and Atlanta for a 4th and 5th seed in the Eastern Conference. I think as things presently constructed, when you look at how stout they are defensively, how exceptionally well coached they are by Tom Thibodeau, you know that Mitchell Robinson is coming back. Let's remember, they didn't have him in the postseason. This is a 7'1" shot blocker. That could have changed things in the first round as far as I'm concerned. So when you talk about him being back, Julius Randle and R.J. Barrett, from what I'm being told, they're working on their right hand. You still kept Derrick Rose. You got a point guard who can score like a Kemba Walker. You got a guy like Evan Fournier who can score, is doing some things in the Olympics. He's relatively decent, good for 17 or 18 a night, can hit perimeter shots, including some three-point shots. I think if you're the New York Knicks, you can make some noise in terms of being a top 4, top 5 seed in the Eastern Conference and advancing past the first round. Are they championship contention? Hell no. I'm not a Cowboy fan. I'm not delusional. I'm not nauseating. But I am knowledgeable enough and man enough to acknowledge this is a step in the right direction. But a lot depends on the health of Kemba Walker. People question his health, Kevin.
Yep.
They have never questioned his ability to play the game of basketball as the number one option in Charlotte. He was averaging better than 25 a game. He was averaging better than 21 a game for Boston until those knees gave out. That's our concern about him, not much else.
That is the big storyline in Kemba Walker's career as an NBA professional. The knees. We'll see how this plays out here.
Bronx,
and you have the Knicks
Native
potentially advancing, after the first round, something we didn't see this spring. Okay, so before I let you go, 48 hours into free agency, who do you think is the biggest winner in the NBA so far?
Wow, well, you look at free agency, and listen, I love the fact that Kyle Lowry ended up in Miami, but I don't see, that making a dent in Brooklyn or Milwaukee. I just look at the Los Angeles Lakers right now. You got Russell Westbrook. You got Carmelo Anthony. I look at the Brooklyn Nets picking up Patty Mills. It's a lot of moves that I like. There's still more to be done. But in the end, what it comes down to is this. The Lakers have made a statement to us all. If LeBron James and Anthony Davis and Russell Westbrook are healthy, when you look at the Western Conference, they should come out of it because you got a guy like Carmelo who can hit shots, and you're not asking them to really, really play defense. They're going to control pace. You talk about LeBron with Melo, with AD, with Russell Westbrook. You're talking about shot makers. You're talking about stars. The lights aren't too bright for them. The Lakers are going to be the favorites in the East. We look at Milwaukee as the reigning defending champions. The pickup of Patty Mills is a very significant thing in the Eastern Conference for Brooklyn. And I think that when we look at the NBA landscape right now, we're fantasizing and salivating over the possibility that the Los Angeles Lakers would face the Brooklyn Nets in the NBA Finals. And let me tell you something. I like being here when I'm talking about the New York Knicks. But if that's my consolation prize, I will not be depressed about that.
Oh, yeah.
At all.